So today I just wanted to speak about new builds versus established, especially in the year of 2025. Look, my personal opinion and experience tells me that buying a new property over an established now is probably one of the worst decisions you could ever make, especially from an investment perspective. So, I mean, look, even if you just explore the business philosophy of a new build or developer, how they work is they buy, a large block of land. They subdivide that land into the smallest blocks possible, because the more number of blocks they have, the more properties they can sell and the more profit they make. And then they go and they build a new dwelling on each of these blocks. And obviously, building costs are very high right now, so don't expect to get that done cheap. And then, in the end, maybe let's say the land is worth 200, the build cost was 400. They might add another 50 to 100k of just sheer profit to pay themselves for doing the work. Now, there's nothing wrong with that from their side trying to make a profit out of it, but from the investor's perspective, from the buyer's perspective, you're paying a massive premium to get into that asset. And additionally, the most of the time when we see these new estates or these subdivisions or new build projects happening, they're usually happening out in the middle of nowhere, right? And there's so much supply for both for rental stock and for properties for sale that it's there's just no chances of you getting a competitive environment where your property is actually going to go up in value. I can say, just as an example, we spoke to someone earlier today. They were considering buying a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom on 212 square meters, one garage, by the way, for $680,000 in a suburb called Wollert, on the outskirts of Melbourne. Now, if you look at the data, it's awful. Like I said, there's literally over 1,000 properties in the pipeline to be built. So that market's going to be absolutely flooded, both from a rental perspective and a capital growth and a for sale perspective. And it's just ridiculous, right? And even 212 square meters. I mean, that's tiny. I mean, that's got to be some sort of world record. But yeah, look, the same can be said about all those out on North's emerging suburbs like Mickleham, Kalkallo, etc. They all have the same sort of market conditions. But I guess what the point I'm trying to highlight is you're overpaying to get into these markets, and the markets don't stack up from a data perspective. So you really need to be careful. And especially, look, for example, if this was your first investment property and you're looking to build a portfolio, and you over leverage or overpay to get into a market that doesn't do much, you're going to have higher holding costs because you paid such a premium to enter that market. You've got a more volatile rental market and you have no capital growth. That's going to postpone your portfolio growth for years to come if you get into something like that, right? So that's why, as an investor, myself and for my clients, we never touch new builds. We only touch established. There was a time back in the day, don't get me wrong, where you could buy new and it's cheaper to build new than to buy established, etc. in some areas and in certain market conditions. But that's just not the case now. So you really need to be careful. Don't let these property developers fool you. If you're buying a brand new home for your own self to live in, look, I get it. I understand. You just want it really nice and new. And you don't mind living in the shoebox. But if it's an investment, stick with established and make sure you're following a data-driven approach in order to choose the right area.